Hello, I'm Catriona Stewart, Academic Advisor to Scottish Autism's Right Click programme for women and girls. And I'm talking to Lynne Moffat, who is a founder member of SWAN, Scottish Women's Autism Network, and was on the Scottish Government's Scottish Autism Strategy Subgroup 6.
Yes.
And you have been involved in autism representation and raising awareness for quite a few years since your diagnosis in 2008?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lynne. But we've been talking about employment issues, really, and I wondered if you would talk a bit about actually the whole process of getting a job in the first place and any particular challenges you feel are specific to being on the spectrum.
I think, as I said before, like, an issue is confidence, and just having that confidence to actually go forward and feel that you're competent and able to do the job itself. I think filling out the application is maybe easier, obviously, like an easier stage than the actual interview, because you're not sort of sitting there face to face with somebody. I think as well people can find it difficult to build themselves up maybe the way that you're kind of expected to for an interview, and really focus on what you're good at and how you're going to be able to do the job. And maybe the honesty thing, sometimes people can shoot themselves in the foot by
Being over-disclosing.
Yes.
Being too honest.
Being too honest, a theory of mind thing. And obviously the whole body language, non-verbal communication thing. Might be an issue if the interviewer or interviewers don't feel a sense of affinity that they might to other candidates or whatever.
Because we do know, don't we, that people make up their minds very, very quickly when they first meet someone.
Yes.
So presentation is obviously going to be extremely important, which might be quite difficult for a spectrum person.
Yes, it could be to achieve the required and desired image, really, and come across in a particular way.
So what would you say would be, what would you recommend to people then in terms of preparing for an interview? Are there things they can do? Is it just to be aware, maybe?
Just to be aware, I think that is just to be aware of what they're actually looking for, just to... and also maybe take advice from other people that they know, like family members, brothers and sisters that might be a wee bit more experienced maybe at interviews, or just
even role play. Get people that you know who might be willing to actually do a bit of role play with you, so that you can actually practice the whole thing.
And just do whatever you think will increase your confidence. I suppose reading resources on the internet as well. There's a lot of things out there and videos and things that will give you hints and tips about what employers are looking for, and obviously the usual interview things about doing your homework
Really
about the company and the role of the job and that kind of thing, and just be aware that the way that the world is, you do have to
be prepared to play the part to some extent. But that's true of everyone.
So I think it's a balance between being yourself and feeling that you're being true to yourself and who you are and what you stand for, and also trying to cater to the situation and what they are looking for within the interview situation.
Well, I suppose it comes down a wee bit to having a certain amount of empathy for the people who are actually sitting on the other side of the table. I mean, I've actually sat on selection panels, and it's a skill in itself, and actually not everyone has it. It's not everyone's that good at it. So I suppose it's just keeping in mind that the people who are asking you questions are just people.
Yes.
Now, there may be people with an agenda, and I suppose that's the difficult bit, isn't it? Especially for people in the spectrum who spend an awful lot of time trying to work out what it is other people are thinking and what their motivations are. But I suppose ultimately you have to assume that they're looking for someone that's going to do the job.
And somebody that's, going to fit the sort of social climate as well, I suppose, to an extent.
Depending on the job.
Yeah, depending on the job.
I mean, one of my daughters had an interview for a particular context. It wasn't for a job, actually, it was for a university place. But what I found really, really funny was that the person she spoke to actually said quite quickly, without any context, there's nothing to do with autism, but they actually said to her, do you have social skills? Because if you want to do this particular course, you're going to need social skills. Whereas if you wanted to do maths at that other college over there, you wouldn't actually need social skills. And I found that really quite cheering, because I thought, well, in some contexts, actually, they're quite clear about what they're looking for. And they know that in some circumstances, people with no social skills, it won't matter. But in some circumstances, it does.
Yeah, I suppose if the interviewers are going to be working with the person themselves, then, you know, they have to, like, you know, the person that they're interviewing has to be somebody that they themselves feel, yeah, I could work with this person, or, you know.
Yeah, one of the things I've found through experience as well is that actually one of the things that is really important is that the people who are interviewing you feel that you're quite enthusiastic about doing the job. So it does seem to me quite important that you actually get that message across, however you do it, that this is something you really, really want to do. It doesn't always work, but, you know, certainly being able to express that enthusiasm is probably quite a good thing.
Yeah, come across it, and that you want to work for the organisation as well, and that you're willing to do what you can to
make it work.
Yeah.
Now, there are organisations, there's a charity, Dress for Success, that some of us in Swan spoke with a couple of years ago, for example, who can try and help women to get into to work, and one of the ways they do that is they actually lend clothes, don't they, so that people kind of can dress. The idea being that if you look the part, you've got a better chance of getting in the job.
I think that.
You think that's quite a good thing?
I think so, because a lot of people do have difficulty knowing where to begin, you know, know.
So again, getting some advice maybe from either a charity like Dress for Success, or even, as you say, family members.
Depending on your sort of network, you know, your family network, your social network and things. I suppose somebody that you yourself feel usually gets it right, or, you know.
I mean, it goes back to that whole swan analogy, doesn't it? This idea that females in the spectrum are actually much better at cloaking and masquerading and acting the part. And but even in a more general sense, I certainly have always felt it quite important. If I've got something really that is very important to me coming up, I like to think through what I'm going to wear in advance, because I like to feel that if I'm dressed the part, then I'll feel the part, that it's easier to play that part. And it's not really about not being true to yourself, it's more just about confidence again. Really.
I think that goes for everybody, really, you know, whether you're in a spectrum or not, then if you feel right, then, but more so, I would
it gives you confidence.
Yeah, it gives you confidence.
But what I also do wonder about is, in terms of spectrum people in an interview situation where you are asked questions on the spur of the moment, and it's not something you've prepared for. Do you have any tips for that? You know, the whole processing issue for people on the spectrum. If you're asked a question that throws you, you know, or you maybe haven't thought about, and it's that ability to take in that new information and turn it around quite quickly to...
Yeah, I think the main thing would be not to panic. You know, a lot of people struggle with anxiety when they're spectrum, and I think it's to try and, you know, learn techniques so that you don't just panic when something's like thrown at you, and
take a deep breath
and just, you know, try and relax and just take your time to start to respond and that kind of thing. Or even, I don't know, depending on the interview, like whether you can have any notes with you, to even have like prompts.
So prompts are a good idea.
Yeah, and I think trying to preempt as much as possible the nature of the questions you're likely to get, you know, like the old faithfuls, like what do you think you can bring to the job and all that, just to try and...
Okay.
Or do you have any questions? Then have a question prepared, because you know that's what you're expected to do, is to, you know, if they ask you if you've got any questions, you say yeah and then ask one.
Yeah.
So I think that comes down again probably to doing your homework, so that you're as well prepared as you can be, and the probability of you being thrown is going to be reduced.
Yeah. And like you say, taking things with you if you need to, like prompts, maybe cards.
If that's something that you can do in that situation.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
bullet points.
Okay, bullet points.
Mhm.
And getting a good night's sleep beforehand if you can.
Yes, as far as you can. Trying to put all the variables in your favour, basically, you know. Just compensate with wisdom for what you lack in
in executive functioning, processing skills.
empathy.
Empathy, yeah, it's a funny one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we do have empathy, don't we, Lynne?
We do have empathy, it's just atypical.
Yeah. Atypical. Okay. That's been really interesting. Practical strategies for getting through interviews. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me, it's been a pleasure.